Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli with Low Blue, and continuing on, of course, with the review marathon of Star Wars. That's right. Now we are doing Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Oh man, and this is heavily mixed, definitely.
Yep.
This one, the one in the middle of the prequel trilogy. From this and Phantom Menace, But we've said what we said on Phantom Menace. Now we're going to say what we're going to say on Attack of the Clones. What do we have to say?
First thing I have to say is I thought it was a good movie.
Me too, yeah.
I thought it was a very good movie.
I love it.
If I'm going to criticize anything, I'll criticize the CGI of Yoda. We got used to Yoda as a hand puppet in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
and then we have the prequels, and now it's like, what happened? He looks like I don't know.
That's another thing, because we didn't talk about this in our review of Phantom Menace, because, they did, of course, do Yoda as a puppet in Phantom Menace, but it didn't look the same.
No.
They tried, but it just didn't work.
It was just different, and it was almost like watching a mix-up with a CGI Star Wars and a live-action Star Wars. It was good. It was well done. It was realistic, but it just looked different. He just looked different. They couldn't get the look the way it was, in real life. We use
and even though, because it's set, years before, Empire and so on.
Exactly.
But what do you think? Because when the Blu-ray release, they changed Yoda from a puppet to CG. Looked a lot better, I think.
Yeah, but there's a lot of mystery around Attack of the Clones. It was, the whole thing with Master Sifo-Dyas, who ordered the clone army.
Right.
And I don't think you're ever really clear on that.
Clone Wars, I think,
died 10 years prior to that.
I think season 6 of the Clone Wars established it more. So
yeah, so it's likely that the Caminos never actually met Master Sifo-Dyas in person.
Nope.
That he was an enigma. He was there. He made contact with him. More than likely, it was Palpatine who used the name as a front.
Yeah, do you think so?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Also, because, one thing about Attack of the Clones is, everybody has complained one thing is, too many CG in this,
Yeah,
but
there was a lot of CG, but it was well done.
But not all of it is CG.
No, not
most
all
of them.
it is.
Some of the stuff, like some buildings or whatever, they're models.
Yeah.
Like that one shot right before we go into Dex's diner.
Yes.
Part of that is a model.
Yeah.
That is. And the Geonosian arena, that's all a model.
Yeah, and it lends to the realism. Even using models, it's like we've watched the Godzilla movies. We've seen the mock-ups. The model cities getting torn down.
War of the Gargantuas.
Exactly, they're all the same. They used models, and they were very realistic.
Star Trek as well.
Sure.
Ship models, everything with the ship models from that, Star Wars, you name it. Also, because even part of Tatooine, when they arrive at Tatooine, Mos Eisley. That's a model too.
Exactly.
Also, in this one, Jar Jar is kind of toned down a bit.
Jar Jar's toned down quite a bit. He was more comic relief in Phantom Menace. A little too much comic relief, in my opinion. I'm not to the extent that some fans are, where they just absolutely hated Jar Jar.
Yeah.
And thought he was terrible, and why did they ruin the movie? No, it didn't ruin the movie. He was just comic relief. That's all he was.
And after the events of Phantom Menace, and what he did next, he kind of changed a bit, I guess you could say.
Yep.
What's his role again in this? I forget. Because Representative Binks.
Representative Binks.
Yeah,
he's a senator.
Senator Binks.
He's a senator from Naboo. He's a senator. He's a senator representing the Gungan government.
Right.
On Naboo. So
right. Right.
But he's also, he just,
yes.
His line when he says, he addresses the gathering, is my Dello Feligates,
right.
It's funny. It's really
yes, it
funny.
is. It's funny.
And then when they first come in, they say, "Obi,"
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Obi, Misa, so excited to see you again. Good to see you again, Jar Jar. So
very good.
Yeah. It's funny. And also, in this we get the first appearance of Captain Typo
Yeah.
with the eye patch. He I read this because he was kind of the replacement for Banaka.
Yeah.
I think it's obvious.
Yeah, I agree.
Now Typo was okay, not bad. The reasoning because the what's his face who played Banaka couldn't come in agreement and such with George. Something between him and George happened. So that's all we know.
There was
That's the best I can put it.
there was I think throughout you see how Luke talks about in The Last Jedi how the Jedi became so arrogant that they didn't even realize they allowed the Jedi to be destroyed. And I think part of that is true because there is a sense of arrogance, but there's also the fact that
And what, Attack of the Clones?
yeah, there's also the fact, and even in Revenge of the Sith, because there's they just don't know. They don't have a clue that Palpatine is
even
a Sith Lord.
even Yoda kind of mentions, blinded we are,
Yeah, it's that the dark force is difficult to see.
Yeah, the Sith,
But
like
how do you not see it?
Palpatine is really getting to them.
Yeah, how do you not see it right in front of you? And when they're all concerned about the fact that Palpatine is basically take control in the Senate, they still don't see it.
Again, he's gotten them pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm jumping ahead here, but even when
we
Revenge of the Sith,
we really shouldn't because we're talking about Attack of the Clones.
I know that, but you see it in you see it in the next movie when Anakin comes to him and he says, "I think he's a Sith Lord," and Mace Windu says, "A Sith Lord?" It's like, really, this is news to you? This guy's been taking over the Senate all the time.
This review,
he's manipulating everything.
This review is Attack of the Clones. We're getting to Revenge of the Sith, okay?
But you're still seeing it in this movie. It's like they just don't see it. They can't. They're blinded by it.
And as for Anakin, not yet.
No, Anakin is. And you notice the shift
from this film and with the Clone Wars. So.
Right. You notice a shift that
the series.
Mace Windu is more pro Anakin in this movie in Attack of the Clones. You notice that he's more pro Anakin because
describe it.
Well, Obi-Wan is talking about he's telling Mace Windu and he's telling when they give him his first assignment to take Senator Amidala, escort her to Naboo and be her escort and her guard, personal guard,
right,
and bodyguard, representing the Jedi. Obi-Wan tells him, he says, I don't think Anakin took to his new assignment very well, and he tells him that he thinks he's arrogant, but they're just coming back and and Mace Windu even says, he displays confidence in him, in that he believes that he's up to the task, and Yoda does as well.
Yeah.
But then it shifts in the next movie. You see that in the next movie.
Yeah.
But in Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan is the one who sees him as being arrogant, and then Yoda corrects him and says, "Yes, this is a trait that we see more now in all Jedi."
Yeah.
And I think he was kind of throwing that back at Obi-Wan.
I guess for one thing, hey, Anakin. Here's another thing. Because speaking of Anakin, Hayden Christensen in this, I mean, he was okay. He was pretty good in this, don't you think? His performance,
he was heavily criticized for his acting.
Yeah, we of course have to bring this up.
Yeah, but he did exactly as George Lucas directed him to do.
And my thought on this, hey, in this film, Anakin is a Padawan.
He's a Padawan. He's trying to figure out his feelings.
Most Padawans would act something like that. But
I called this in Phantom Menace. I knew what was going to happen. I knew how Anakin was going to turn. As soon as he told his mom, "I'll come back and free you," I said, he is going to come back. He is going to find her dead, or she's going to be dying. And then when she dies,
of course,
he is going to start his path on the dark side.
And thus,
because he loves his mother so much, he didn't want to leave her. He didn't want to be torn away from her. He wanted her to come with him.
Exactly.
He never understood why he had to leave her behind. He missed her. So what does Yoda say? Anger leads to hate.
Fear leads the path to the dark side.
Exactly.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Correct.
To suffering.
I sense much fear in you.
So he called it,
Yes. And you called it too, that that would happen in the next one.
Exactly. So as soon as that happened,
on Tatooine and the Tusken Raiders,
knew exactly what was going to happen. But I thought it was very cool that they brought Jango Fett into it.
Oh, yes.
So you had that element, and then you see a very young Boba Fett. You find out Boba Fett's
a clone
background.
Yes, he's a clone too.
He's an unaltered clone. So he is more or less, he is pretty much Jango Fett's son.
Yeah,
because he's a clone.
He
but
took
he's
him
an
as
unaltered clone.
he took him as a son. Jango.
He took him as a son. He was unaltered. He wasn't programmed as a clone.
No.
So he is basically like a test tube baby, if you will.
Yeah. And Tamir Morrison as Jango Fett, he's fantastic, you know.
Of course he is.
And when he goes on to play Boba Fett, of course.
Yes.
Also, speaking of Jango, and also the speeder, like the Coruscant chase scene, speeder chase.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty good.
Very well done.
John Williams' music, you know.
Yeah.
If you listen closely, and you will definitely hear it in the soundtrack, there's a bit of a rock and air guitar in there.
To go back and listen to that.
It's there, you know. You're like,
oh yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
I think it fits really well in that because hey,
it does.
Coruscant, you get the idea. So the feel to it. And Zam Wessel, I think, you know, that's the bounty hunter.
Yeah, there's scenes where they're chasing her.
And Zam, it turns out, is a changer, you know.
A changeling.
Changeling, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's a scene where they're chasing her, and that music, it's kind of it's a synthesizer of some kind, but it's that, you know, it's
it's her
eerie,
speeder.
Yeah, it's that eerie sound, you know.
And while the speeder that Anakin and Obi-Wan are, it's like...
Yeah, exactly.
I think I established it pretty good.
When Obi-Wan first, you know, when he goes after that probe that's
he grabs a hold of it.
That's dropped those poisonous centipedes.
Yeah.
That's
kind of like what they
flying
are.
along, and you see that one speeder come by, and one of them is a dud, just like.
Well, the first one, like what the, and then the Doug, yeah.
Jedi Voodoo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Some people would say that's Sebulba. That's not
Sebulba.
That's
but
not
Sebulba.
Sebulba.
It was the same species of Sebulba. It was a dud.
And it might have been the same voice actor voice Sebulba.
Is it Dud or Doug?
Doug.
Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not Sebulba because you look at that Doug and Sebulba, totally different.
Totally different, but same species.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see the consistency. I like when they do that. When they introduce different species, it's nice to see them again in a different light and a different character altogether,
and with different skin tone and like how they look.
Exactly. It lends to the continuity of the story.
You also the one part where they go, I forget what part this is. Like Anakin and Obi-Wan, they get hit by electric or something, and Obi-Wan's like, Anakin, how many times have I told you to stay away from power couplings?
Yeah, exactly.
And you can even hear Anakin's like, ow, 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 ow. Just, you know, that was good. So, and I also like that part where they're like this. They go straight down, and Obi-Wan's like, pull up, Anakin, pull up, you know.
And he's laughing.
Yeah, and you see the look on his face, the smile.
Flying is for droids.
He says that in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
and it's like, you know, sorry, Master, I forgot you don't like flying. I don't mind flying, but what you're doing is suicide.
Exactly.
Obi-Wan and Anakin's funny moments are good in this film.
Yeah.
And in Revenge of the Sith.
They're very good. Yeah.
Also, trying to remember, but also we get the first appearance of Kamino in this, of course, as we were talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was erased from the Jedi library or something, you know, system of planets.
Mm-hmm.
And Dex in this film, and Dex's Diner.
Loved Dex. Loved his character.
It turns out that, you know, him and Obi-Wan, they were partners, like they went on missions.
Yeah, and Dex was a very experienced. He was some kind of a tracker.
Exactly.
You get that impression that he was a tracker, and he knows things.
Yeah.
So
and Obi-Wan,
he's a go-to for Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan
for intel.
He shows them the toxic dart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, another thing is on Naboo with Anakin and Padme, because they're the love of Anakin and Padme's love story, you know?
Yes.
What about it?
Well...
what's wrong with it? Like, what? It's just...
I always go to the line with Padme going, I truly, deeply love you. And I'm sitting there going,
I don't mind.
I'm going to vomit. It
wasn't done in a good way.
Popcorn and Coke are coming up right here on the theater floor.
It wasn't done in a good way, might I
No, it was not. And I'm sorry.
I don't
but
care.
The seductive scene where they're by the fire, and she's wearing leather. Come on, seriously? And she's not trying to attract Anakin. Come on,
And Anakin
wearing
like,
that?
and
Seriously?
and like Anakin, like, you are my very soul.
Yeah, exactly. You haunt me. You should. I'm haunted by the kiss you should never have given me. It's like, give me a break.
Not done in a good way, but they, also, but also on Tatooine. Remember, we get the return of Watto.
Yeah.
And the scene where Anakin is trying to find and see his mother, and we get the return of 3PO. Now has like armor on him or something, like parts on him.
But back to Watto for a minute. I never got the hat. It was a weird looking hat he was wearing. I was like, where'd the hat come from? Why is he now wearing a hat? I don't understand that.
Is that important?
Not really, but I kind of question. It's like, where did this hat come from? It's like a flat, weird looking hat.
Also, we get the appearance of young Owen, Lars, and Beru.
Yeah, they did a really good job casting those parts because they look remarkably like. But the old joke is that you look at pictures of Sir Alec Guinness and then you look at pictures of Obi-Wan.
Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor.
And it's like, and then you see,
or say if you look at photos like Sebastian Shaw and Hayden Christensen.
Uncle and Aunt Beru
right.
shows them young, shows them older, and it's like 20 years of, they've aged 20 years. On Tatooine, it's more like 40 years they've aged, So it's funny how they've done that.
Also, Cleve Lars.
Yeah, Cleve Lars.
He was okay, don't you think?
Yeah,
Wasn't that much of him?
But... He actually sort of resembled Owen Lars in a way.
Well, that's the thing, because, Cleve Lars is Owen's father.
Yeah, exactly. So they did a good job on casting there as well.
Yeah, and, Cleve was the one who freed Shmi,
Yep.
Married her and such.
For sure.
Yep. And thus, Anakin, he goes off to find Shmi, his mother. And that sequence where he finds Shmi, of course, and where she dies.
Yes.
And that part where that music that plays, dramatic and such, and the look on Anakin's face, and the music, they go so well. Because you get the feel and such. The dark side is coming to him. He goes on a rampage and kills the entire tribe of Tusken Raiders, that camp.
Now, the one thing I will say is when he's on the speeder.
Okay, go ahead.
When he's on the speeder, going through the desert on Tatooine, in
it's
search of his mother.
It's pretty cool. Like
it is
with that
cool,
and the Duel of Fates music playing.
But they could have done it. They could have made it more realistic. He needed some kind of eye protection. He needed goggles or something. I know. The whole thing, George Lucas, he wanted to project this solemn, smoldering look on Anakin's face. He was looking for his mother.
And it
worked
pretty good.
If you're in the desert on a speeder doing probably 80 miles an hour, you're going to get sand in your eyes. You need some kind of protection. And he's just sitting there just driving along like this. When in reality, he would have been like, oh, God, and it would be like that. He'd be ducking.
Let's see somebody do a parody of that.
Yeah, they should, because he should have been wearing eye protection. I'm sorry. They could have come up with something.
Yeah. Also, when Anakin is killing the Tusken Raiders, and we cut to Yoda, we hear Qui-Gon's voice.
Exactly.
Qui-Gon the ghost of Qui-Gon is reaching out to Anakin to stop him, but Qui-Gon fails.
Yeah, of course.
Yep. And Yoda can sense the presence of Anakin, pain and suffering, And also, Geonosius. And we get the first appearance of Dooku / Tyrannus.
Yeah, Darth Tyrannus. Christopher Lee.
The late legendary actor Christopher Lee.
I think there had to be something there to call him Count Dooku, because he played Count Dracula in a classic Dracula movie.
But what do you think? What do you think Count means in this?
Probably the same thing. It's probably the same type of title. Count is a.
Yeah, and Dooku starts with the letter D.
Yeah.
So Dracula, Dooku.
Yeah,
They both start with D.
True.
Yeah, but Christopher Lee, he was fantastic as Dooku, of course.
He was very good. He's
Christopher Lee.
Yeah, of course, Christopher Lee.
His friend Peter Cushing is in Star Wars as well as Tarkin.
Exactly.
So 2 horror icons in Star Wars.
Exactly.
Also, we get to see, because with Geonosian, we see their factory. They build the battle droids.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how those battle droids were made and to see that whole process. It was really cool.
And those galactic people, like the banking clan and the others, and the new battle droids in this too, they're they fire and such. They're pretty cool.
I knew in that movie probably at some point you knew Anakin had to get his arm cut off. So I really thought that point when he got his hand trapped in that
duel between Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Dooku.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Dooku puts Obi-Wan down in his place, kind of wounds him. Then Anakin comes in to try to fight off against Dooku. But then at one point, Dooku finishes Anakin by cutting his arm off.
Yeah, exactly.
His entire arm off, basically.
Yeah, from his, just below his elbow down.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awful.
Yep. And that's when, and Yoda comes in, of course.
Sure.
And that was epic too, seeing Yoda, kicking butt,
Mm-hmm.
And with him wielding a lightsaber, of course.
Yes.
And he was moving fast.
Yes.
That was the goal for George. That's what he wanted.
Right.
Move really fast. Even jokingly said in I remember behind the scenes, a blend of Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much, yeah. It makes sense, but also, because Dooku, he was once Yoda's apprentice.
Yes.
I love the lines that are given, Yoda says, "Fought well you have, my old Padawan," and Dooku's like, "This is just the beginning," which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Geonosian battle scene with the droids and the Jedi.
Yes.
That was pretty good.
Right.
And Django gets killed by Windu.
Mm-hmm.
Chops his head off.
Yes.
Yep. And the clone troopers, of course, come in, of course.
Mm-hmm.
With Yoda. Also, because I'm trying to remember. And the ending is pretty good, too. Dooku, he returns to Coruscant. What's interesting is that, Sidious, he has his own hiding place far off, the main city of Coruscant.
Mm-hmm.
And, Dooku coming in, "I have good news for you, my lord. The war has begun. Excellent. Everything is proceeding as I hoped, And one last talk of Obi-Wan and Windu and Yoda giving the last lines of the film, "The shroud of the dark side has fallen. Begun. The Clone War has." And thus it has begun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And the Imperial March plays,
Yes.
And because at the last scene, Anakin and Padme, they do get married, don't they? Because
they do.
It is shown.
It is shown. They get married, secretly married.
That's right. And we see Anakin, he has a robotic arm.
Mm-hmm.
He now has a robotic arm.
Which kind of surprised me that he had that robotic arm and it didn't look more realistic, but I guess they were saying,
Well, they weren't going to fully show it.
No, but it was that his arm was not like how Luke's was in Empire Strikes Back. His hand it was realistic. It was like skin and all.
Well, go for something different, Well, and because of when this takes place.
Exactly. Maybe the technology hadn't developed yet.
If you think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. We do fully get to see his robotic arm, in Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
That. But overall, Attack of the Clones, we enjoy it, don't we?
Good movie.
It's really good. And we're one of those few people that really do enjoy it. We love it. And how do we rate this?
Oh, I give it 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. And I don't care. I'm giving this 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I give it 10 out of 10.
I don't give a crap. I'm giving this 10 out of 10. I enjoy it, and I know there are some people that do too.
Mm-hmm.
I ignore the stuff that people criticize, you know what I'm saying? And that we've been talking about. I don't care about that.
Mm-mm. No.
It's Star Wars, okay? So just, I don't care for that stuff. I don't mind it, because I get what that stuff's trying to do, even if it's not done in the right way.
I agree.
Not in a good way, that is. So you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But so again, you give this 2 thumbs up. Do you rate this 10 out of 10 or just give it 2 thumbs up?
I'll give it 10 out of 10. I'll give it 2 thumbs up.
Okay, same. And again, I'm giving it 10 out of 10. And you guys let us know what you think of the Attack of the Clones if you enjoy it. Again, we're one of those few people that do. So with that being said, 10 out of 10, 2 thumbs up for Attack of the Clones. And up next, episode 3. Definitely. Yeah. Wait until wait until our review comes out. So again, that's our review of Attack of the Clones. More reviews on your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward. And of course, continuing on with the Star Wars review marathon. And again, episode 3 is coming up very soon. And we'll see you guys in the next video /review. Take care. Peace out. And may the Force be with you.